Hello, and welcome to Friday Finds with Rob Meyer-Kukan.
Hello, and welcome once again to Friday Finds. I'm Rob Meyer-Kukan, and I would like to introduce you to my guest, Susan Nelson. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Rob.
How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. So the first part of the interview is me asking you to give us a little bit about yourself. So tell us who you are and what you do, and just give us a little bit of your background.
Well, I'm Sue Nelson, and I'm a composer and also a church musician and piano teacher. And I I have a bachelor's degree from Rutgers University in music theory and composition, and that was many years ago. And I recently, yeah, that was in 19. And I recently went back to school and I earned a master's in music technology and composition from the University of Valley Forge. And that was 2014. So
Wonderful. Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about the music that you compose and a little bit about what makes your genre so unique.
Okay. I like to compose for instrument. I do handbell composition mostly, and I like to compose pieces that use alternate bells or different musical instruments, so that if they have these optional instruments, it kind of expands their library and it gives them a little bit more bang for their buck. So the piece can be played maybe with just handbells or some extra instruments. Either way works.
Excellent. Wonderful. Yeah, I believe, yeah, it was this past summer that I got to see you live in action, one of your most recent compositions that you wrote for full handbell ensemble, plus it had 8 bells for Larry and Carla Sue. Larry was on Friday Finds about a month or so ago. And so that was a pretty unique setting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Well, we invited Campanelli Handbell Ensemble from Estonia over to the States, and you and Scott and Larry and Carla were a very big part of that as our supporters and audience and guests. We were really great to see you in person and meet everyone. But that piece was commissioned by Larry and Carla. So, and it was written for the full ensemble, like you said, in the 8 bells, which that is not my forte. That is Larry's, but I managed to, pull it off. But anyway, it also used alternate bells because somehow 5 octaves of bells and 6 octaves of chimes and another 3 octaves with Larry and Carla was just not enough, so we had to add more bells. So we used some of the instruments in my Virtual Handbell Museum. We used some Pettit and Fritzens and some Whitechapel cup bells, and also some William Dunn handbells, which are really much like Whitechapel's, only they're from about the 1840s.
All right. So these alternate instruments, these alternate bells, are they things that are specific and unique to the collection that you or a specific ensemble might have, or are they readily available?
Yes and no. Okay, some bells, a lot of ensembles are now starting to use these. So Pettit and Fritzen are maybe easier to come by, even though they're still rare. A lot of the early English handbells, the William Dunns or the Shaws or the Old Taylors or even antique Whitechapels, in the battery range, they're pretty easy to come by. You just have to look and word gets out there that you collect and whatnot, and we help each other out,
Right.
Some of the other instruments, like the Deegan pear-shaped bells, they're very rare and very hard to come by. So it also depends on the range. If you're looking for a Pettit and Fritzen C3, that's going to be a problem. There's not that many of them around.
Right. So what is it about these alternate instruments, these alternate sets of bells that is so intriguing to you as a composer and as a bell enthusiast?
I think I think it's because they offer a different tone palette than we have normally. So when you're writing for handbells, we're a pretty clever bunch. You know, we've invented millions of ways to make the bell sound different, a lot, but it's still not enough. You know, we have hand chimes, but I don't know. You know, the sound of a tower bell is pretty cool here and there to punctuate a cadence or
Right.
whatnot. And I mean, originally, I was interested in them because I came upon the William Dunn set, and I couldn't afford, you know, a regular set of handbells, and they were inexpensive, and they were a total disaster. That's why they were inexpensive. And I kind of felt sorry for them, you know. So I bought them, and then had them refurbished little by little, and then I really appreciated they had a great sound.
Very
So
cool.
kind of just got hooked on it.
So the alternate sets of bells are sort of like the different stops on the organ. They give different color to the sound of the ensemble then.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And you also are an extremely flexible composer. By that, I mean you have composed for some other instruments. I'm thinking specifically of Sound Shards, which is a phenomenal piece of music. And so tell us yeah, you're welcome. Tell us a little bit about, you know, what that is, that wonderful combination.
It's well, it's a, you know, a small ensemble work, a chamber group, but not your normal violin viola.
Right.
It was commissioned by Michelle Sharrock, and she wanted something different for her senior recital. And I chose the instruments because they all have particular qualities, like the marimba for its earthy, woody sound, and the tambora because it provided continuity, the percussion because, hey, how can you not?
Right.
It's just a great thing to have there, keeping everything intact, and handbells. But I wanted to do something where it wasn't just a solo with accompaniment, that kind of thing. I wanted the handbells to be equal collaboration with the other instrumentalists.
Right.
And as far as the minimalism goes with that, I was the 21st, I was just scratching an itch. It's, you know, it was a fun way to step out of my comfort zone and say, look, handbells can do this too.
Yeah. And you used, if I recall correctly, you used certain mathematical patterns to create part of the melody, or am I recalling that incorrectly?
I think you're speaking about Indonesian Impressions, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that might be what it is. Yeah. So since you brought it up then, or since I sort of indirectly brought it up, so tell us a little bit about, because a lot of handbell music we hear is based on a lot of hymn tunes, a lot of church music. More and more these days, we're hearing people stretching the envelope, and we're hearing more original composition, more things that are programmatic or thematic in nature. So tell us a little bit about Indonesian Impressions.
Okay, I wrote that, I think that was 1996. Probably before the handbell world was really quite ready for that. But I used to play in a gamelan. When I was at Rutgers, I played in a gamelan for 3 years, and it was two, actually. It was one that did traditional Javanese music, which I love, and the other one was more of a composers consortium, where it was doing all 20th century music. And handbells and gamelan is very similar, playing in that type ensemble situation. You have to be very aware in both ensembles of what's going along around you, because you're dependent on other people playing notes, and in gamelan it's similar because as the main melody carriers, that are people that are playing the main melody, other instruments have to improvise off of that.
Okay.
or it affects the, you have to pay attention to the gong cycle because that tells you where you're at in the piece. So anyway, I didn't get to play any gamelan after I left Rutgers, and I really missed it. And I always tell people that handbells give me a socially acceptable outlet for my gamelan tendencies.
Okay.
So what I tried to do with the piece was use the different octaves of the handbell to kind of simulate what the different gamelan instruments would sound like.
Okay. Very cool. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about, you've got a pretty cool series of handbell music for kids, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, it's Kids Ring, and I work with children a lot in my church jobs, and I would kind of do these, a lot of this stuff is stuff I did for years with them. They could do it by rote or they could do it by note reading, and so it's been field tested and, kid approved and director approved. And it's not color-coded music.
Okay.
Let me get a score up here. Here's one book. Another. I have 15 volumes of these.
Okay.
And there's Christmas and there's hymns and there's sacred and secular music. So it depends on, I have a book called Kid Songs, which is stuff like a Tisket, a Tasket, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But the music itself has, let me see if I can get, it has, I don't know if you can see that or not, it has the note names written inside that. So it's like a bridge between color-coded music, which I don't use, and regular handbell music. And there's a bell use chart in it. It uses standard bell articulations, and the pieces grow with your choir's ability. So, for example, here's an arrangement of How Firm a Foundation, and that's just the melody with the words. And it's got, you'll see chord symbols here over top of it. You can break the children up into a 1-4-5 progression, and group 1 rings there and group 2 rings there. And then this is a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
It's just got some open fifths for accompaniment with the melody on the bottom. And then How Firm a Foundation 3 is more complicated because now it's introducing some bell articulations.
Oh, very cool. And
the books they vary. Some of them are for 13 to 2 octave, 13 note to 2 octave, or 20 note to 2 octave, but most are 8 note to 2 octave. Now I've revamped them in the second edition so that everybody can kind of join in. And not all of the arrangements, all of the pieces have different arrangements, but they'll have something to dress them up, like percussion or recorder, and they can be played on Orff instruments and whatnot.
Very cool. That's amazing. So how do people get a hold of your music? Let's specifically first talk about Kids Rings.
Okay. Well, they're all offered out of Foretold Publishing, self-publishing site, and you can get them from Heights Handbells Music. Okay. You can get them from Jeffers or any other, vendor. You can also just contact me, and instead of maybe ordering a book and having it shipped to you, I could send you PDFs of it, and that cuts out the shipping costs. So either it's advertised on my website, susantnelson.com, easy to remember. Mm-hmm. And you could reach me by email, you could call, anyway.
All right, and I'll make sure that the links that Susan mentioned to those sites are in the description to the video, or if you're watching on social media, it'll be in the comments below. So is the Kids Ring series reproducible then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you for mentioning that because
Sure.
I yes. So you buy the book and they're reasonably priced. They're $20.99. You can photocopy them for your students. You know.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so much of we've been sort of teasing a little bit today about the blessing and curse of technology, but so much of this technology these days is just wonderful. Digital downloads and print on demand things. It's just, I think that's pretty cool in the wave of the future, so to speak. Maybe we're a little behind the times in the music world, but that also helps to protect you as a composer for copyright purposes and things like that. But it's wonderful to have these quality, reproducible materials. So tell us a little bit about if we wanted to purchase some of your other handbell compositions. Who are you published by? Where would we buy those? Through what companies, or how would we get that stuff?
Okay. Well, I work with about 22 different publishers.
Okay.
So you can get them either directly from the publisher. So if you see a selection that's from the top music, you could get that from their website, or Hope get it from the website, Lorenz, or you can get it from the standard handbell vendors.
Okay.
So Heights, Jeffers, any one of the number of handbell vendors out there.
Excellent. Wonderful. Excellent. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about the Virtual Handbell Museum. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Okay, that kind of was an outgrowth of that first set of bells that I got from the 1800s that were a disaster. and at that time, this particular set, there wasn't a lot of information about this founder at all. I had to do quite a lot of hunting and talking with other collectors, knowledgeable people like Willard Markey and Whitechapel Bell Foundry, Catherine Hughes. There wasn't a lot of information on alternate bells to begin with out there. So I decided that after doing all this research and finding out what type of animals these were and what foundry and what year, I thought, gee, it would be nice if somebody else stumbles across this set that they actually could, oh yeah, there's some information out here. So I started collecting them in different bells, so there would be maybe a contrast so people could see the difference, because a lot of the British bells look very similar, and you really have to look closely to see the differences, not only in the brand of the bells, but in bells of the same foundry over a different period of time. So,
oh, wow.
So as I collected more and more, I thought, well, I should make this a little bit more inviting and put pictures up and, and sound bites up. And so really, it's just a way for me to give back to the handbell community because they give me so much. So,
excellent.
And it's just a fun hobby.
So how do we find the Virtual Handbell Museum?
You can get it right from my homepage, the susantnelson.com.
All right.
There's a little link on the top where you can get to the Virtual Handbell Museum or the Outside the Box bells or Kids Ringer, all that. So.
All right. Excellent. Great. And you said earlier that if people wanted to reach you, they could email you. That's a good way to get a hold of you. So what's your email address?
Okay, another easy one. Sue@susantnelson.com.
Awesome. That's super easy. Wonderful. So I like to ask my guests to share with us some words of wisdom. And it can be something that is funny or something that is serious, related to what we're talking about, or completely off the wall. But I ask my guests to share the best piece of advice they were ever given. So do you have some words of wisdom to share with us today?
Okay, I have one. Years ago, I found one. No, years ago, one of my professors said to me, knowing I was going to go out in church work, said, "You're there to work. They are not. Always remember that." So if you it's not that they won't work hard for you. They will, but you have to remember that you're the one getting paid. So give patience and understand that they're going to need to, this is a social event for them too, periodically, and just that you're there to work and they're there to work but have some enjoyment also. And it's pretty much kept me in good stead,
Yeah, that's some really good advice. That's wonderful advice for church musicians to help formulate the philosophy of what we do, because it is a unique creature, isn't it? Very different than performance-based ensembles or community ensembles, those types of things. So that's really wonderful. That's good advice.
Yeah, I know it's very simple, but somehow that stuck with me. Is what we're organ teachers. Somehow that has stuck with me all these years. So and it doesn't mean that they won't work hard. They will. It's just puts a different perspective on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that church musicians, church ensemble members, congregation members, really sense that in a serious director, someone who is really putting things into it and putting their hard work, their blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak. And they mirror that really, really beautifully, I find. So, yeah.
Exactly, they do. But I think if your objective is to both teach them and come up with a good product at the end when you're ready to do this anthem, but also make it collaborative and enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we're all about.
Isn't it
church
though?
music, I think.
Yeah, it is. It truly is.
Maybe all music, but
yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Sue, so much for spending a little bit of time with me today to chat and to share some of the beautiful things that you're doing for the world and for the handbell world in specific. If you are watching this video and you like what we're chatting about, hit the thumbs up. That's a good feedback, and that's also helpful for other people seeing what we're doing here. If you like the videos that I am publishing, hit the subscribe button. That's always good too. You'll find out right away when I publish a new video, and it will come right into your inbox if you're a subscriber to my channel. So please do that. And thank you once again, Sue. I appreciate your advice and the information that you shared with us. If you're watching this video on Friday, have a great weekend. If you're watching it on another day, have a great week. Thank you. Thanks. We'll see you later, Sue. And we'll see you later, everyone. Bye.
Join me next week as I welcome back to the show Susan Hong as she talks about her new book, Musical Mandala Coloring Book 2.